So Moldavite doesn't get very big. And this is about 0.5 gram piece. This is about 3.5 grams. Even that's starting to get like medium, for some. And then you have, a 6, 7 gram piece. And then you have these monster pieces. Now, Moldavite doesn't, as I mentioned, it doesn't get very big, and you don't need a very big piece. But this is what you have, a very large piece of Moldavite. This is a 46-gram piece, and it will be more and more rare to see them this size. This is actually, last time I went to the museum, I'm pretty sure this one was bigger than the one in the museum in DC, or at least comparable. So they are very, very powerful. So here's the deal with the size. Most of the time, you do not need a big piece. It's actually too strong. It's too strong the majority of the time you will ever work with Moldavite. And when the crystal is too strong, your higher power literally won't allow you to actually feel the full force of that stone. Okay? Because, this stone right here, I mean, is just it's like overkill. It's fun for very specific applications. Every now and again, I'll like, okay, where's my big one? I'll go play with that one for a little bit. But Moldavite does have a tendency to unground, but it's doing so in a very calculated way. So the energy you experience from crystal energy, it's of a harmonic nature. Meaning, when you feel the energy of crystals, it's in pure harmony. And when that pure harmonic force hits your energetic body, which is in a state of disharmony, we are in a disharmonic state, striving to be in the next harmonic state of consciousness. So that's why when you feel that crystal energy, it's causing all of these wild experiences, because we are still in that state of transcendence, of moving into the next level of consciousness. So every time you get a crystal experience and feel that energy, it's going to be in harmony, and it's going to give you the exact amount of information and experience to allow you to continue on your path. Because one thing to know as a background of working with Moldavite or crystals or stones is that they are a form of consciousness on this dimension. There are 3 forms of consciousness that are here. You have first density consciousness. You have the minerals, crystals, and so forth. You have the elements. You have earth, air, fire, water, ether. They are in a harmonic state. You look at how wind works or how water flows, it's all in harmony. Okay, so when you learn from the elements, you are always going to receive a perfect harmonic lesson in return. But it's just that when you work with crystals, you are actually bringing in these amplifiers into your field, and it's creating a resonance, because everything is vibrating. Crystals vibrate perfectly. They're perfectly structured materials. So when our frequency hits their frequency, it changes. Frequency equals form. And the higher the frequency, the more complex the form that is going to emerge. And it's the science of somatics, where you see vibration causes a form. Like if you have a speaker putting that sound on water, you'll see that frequency bounce on the water. And as I mentioned, the higher the vibration of the crystal, these are high frequency crystals. Moldavite is a high vibrational stone, is going to give you a more complex view of reality. And that's why things begin to get chaotic when you work with this stone, this crystal, this tektite. Because it's giving you a new rendition of reality. It's breaking down the structures of what you've deemed reality to be. And it can be very, I don't want to say traumatic, it can be unnerving, it can be challenging because you are forced with the task of having to re-understand your relationship to reality and your relationship to yourself, because we have these egoic renditions of what we think we are, what we think we know, what's happening out there. But I guarantee you that when you go down this path, you don't know anything, because within this dimension, this is a dimension in which you do not have to know to succeed. And that is a key fundamental aspect to the dimension we're working in. This is all relative to having the most effective connections to this form of consciousness. So that's why we're kind of going off on this tangent, because it's very important, because most people just grab the crystals and stones and they just start holding them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what's happening to them. So it's really important to have this structure and background to what our consciousness is going through and what we're placed in. What's this dimension all about? So this dimension is not about knowing. Your sense of knowing gets knocked down is when you feel that Moldavite blast. It opens up your third eye. You're having these new experiences of reality. And you're saying, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening. I don't know anything. Because I certainly don't. As much as I've been doing this, I've stopped trying to know what's happening because it's not meant to be known. Sure, you can know things to a degree, it's all relative, but it's not a prerequisite for your success. This is the dimension of choosing. What are we choosing to do? You make a choice, you have an experience, and that experience gives you a feeling of embodiment. That's what this dimension is about. Choosing your emotional embodiment. And as you make your choices in life, you refine over time. You say, I don't want to do those behaviors anymore. I don't want to have those types of thoughts anymore. You refine your choices and you increase your vibration. And this is where you get to Moldavite. One of the most powerful things Moldavite does is it rapidly draws up everyone's unwanted feelings, behaviors, anything that's been repressed or that's held just under the surface. Moldavite draws that up to be acknowledged, because Moldavite is saying, hey, I'm dragging you by the arm, and you're going to go down this path for your own good, and there's no time to waste. So here's what you've been doing, here's what you've really been thinking. It gives you that reflection. And that's really intense for a lot of people, to have all that information purged out of you all at once, because it takes time. So a lot of that energy is multidimensional, where you have this really very powerful purge, where all this energy comes up from Moldavite, it's drawn out, and then it takes time to integrate. It takes time to ground back into you. So Moldavite rapidly draws out what's not wanted. And in my healing practice, I utilize Moldavite for clearing. So if I feel something in myself, and we're going to go over some important techniques on how to properly connect with Moldavite. And yeah, so when I would work with Moldavite, I use it to help draw out thoughts or feelings or emotions that shouldn't be there anymore, or energies that I don't want there anymore. Getting all that old programming out. Much of our consciousness, we tell ourselves stories on stories, and we're trying to unwind those stories. So, drawing out rapid transformation. These are all aspects of Moldavite. One of the common things that people talk about is called the Moldavite Flash or a Moldavite heat. That was one of the first things that I felt was this really strong heat at the back of my head. It almost gave me like a headache. And I remember holding that stone and and another thing, I remember holding that stone and feeling all these feelings. It was so palpable, so strong. And I would show, you show someone who's not into any of this, say, hey, look at this little crystal, look what it does to me. And you just get these like, sure it does. Sure it does all that. But little do they know, a little bit of focus and you can awaken anyone. All right, moving forward. So the magic of Moldavite. Another thing this stone is known for is a stone of truth. So you can meditate. Say you're trying to find truth in a given situation. This stone will help you find the voice of your truth. It may be piled under all of the repressed feelings and emotions, but those feelings and everything that's coming up is going to feel in a way that says, that's not me. So really beautiful practice with Moldavite is if you need to find truth in a situation, you meditate with this stone and it will help you find that voice. As I said, we're going to go deeper into the meditation and the connection techniques. For right now, we're trying to figure out why Moldavite is so important to us. Why is this incredible catalyst so valuable? So this tektite, Moldavite, it's known for blasting open our third eyes, for opening up the heart center. Now, this is really important right here because our consciousness is in a state of disharmony. As I said, we're all striving to make our experiences, make our choices, refine them, evolve into the most loving beings we can. If you want to make it out of this dimension, you must be a master of love. You must love yourself unconditionally. You must love everyone else unconditionally. That's the prerequisite. That's a dimensional control. It's about love. Love is not just an emotion or feeling, it's a essence. It's everything. Everything is love. It's your awareness coming into that truth is what the human journey is about. But we had a proclaimed fall of consciousness. Now, I don't like to get too much into the hypotheses and philosophies and hearsays, if you will, but let's just entertain this idea about a fall of consciousness that occurred. Now, they say there was a fall of consciousness that occurred during the Atlantean times. There's a lot of science out there about the Great Flood that occurred. But that doesn't necessarily matter. And this is why, because this is what matters. Because Moldavite is trying to help us unlock our third eyes, which is just an energy center that helps ascend our consciousness or receive more information about our reality. We're trying to open that part of our brain, the pineal gland. We're trying to open up our heart, which is in another ascending energy of the body. If you want to ascend your consciousness, those are the only two energies that you have that will bring you into a greater reality. Not your root, not your sacral, not your crown. Those are all access points. But those are the two that give you more of reality, that raise your vibration. And Moldavite just happens to open up those two in a perfect balance harmony. Most will open their third eyes as their spiritual awakening, and you will have to ground into love. Love is much more difficult than transcending beyond human emotion into a unified consciousness through the third eye. Love is actually that's what takes a master. So Moldavite is dragging us through those ascending qualities. So this is what happened in the fall of consciousness. Is that all of a sudden humans began putting too much emotion behind their thoughts. Because what happens? What is creation? Creation is a thought. Creation is a single thought with focus behind it. It comes into creation. So, what happens when your thoughts start to go dark? Your thoughts start to go negative, self criticizing or criticizing others or judging others, doom and gloom. What happens when you put all of your life force on to all of those thoughts? Just because you think it doesn't mean it's real. But what is real is your vibration. And if you begin putting all of this dense, heavy emotion behind every single one of your thoughts without any form of emotional stability, you're going to lower your consciousness because all of that energy is created. You're creating it and it's pulling you down to the point where you can't think without emotionally reacting. Everything becomes personal. This is your fall of consciousness. All this wisdom came to me through one of the last group healings a month or so back. So when I do these group healings, we were channeling the Lemurian consciousness. And that energy was so powerful that it showed me in through this experience, through this group experience, how our consciousness fell. Because what the Lemurians said is this, is that there was an old way of thinking in which your thinking used to be really, really light. Now you can try this right now as you listen. All it takes for you to create anything is a single thought. So try to think in the lightest possible way, to have a thought, just a single thought without any emotion behind it. There's a lightness to it. See how little energy you could use when you think of one single thing. Because when it comes to creating, for instance, I'll give you an example. I'm thinking to myself that I want to open up my heart. So I say, I think of my heart and I think in the lightest way possible. And that's all the energy that's needed. The most efficient amount of energy for thinking. And then you just place your focus on that single light thought. And eventually over time, your thinking and reacting will actually separate. And that cord is related. It's actually related between your heart and your third eye. But that, honestly, that took years and years and years to understand and to actually feel that occur. But that's what's happening because we have all these energy centers and channels that are literally collapsed into ourselves. They're not activated. We are running off of we're running off of a small amount of our potential. We're running off of a small amount of our potential. And that is why Moldavite is so powerful, because it activates you. If you know how to use this magical tektite, it activates you. Now, the activation, Moldavite, you're not just going to hold a piece of Moldavite and all of a sudden you're activated. It's not. This is a tool. It needs to be seen as a tool. Modern culture has, made Moldavite, fashion accessory, using in jewelry, having it just with you all the time. And that's fine and dandy. You can do that. But if you want to make the most out of your connections to these tools, you need to see them as consciousness. You need to relate to them as consciousness. You need to connect to them as you are embodying sincerity, asking a teacher. How would you ask a teacher for help? And you can do this all energetically with your empathy, with feeling. That's the relationship, because it's not about Moldavite. It's not about crystals. It's not about any of it. The crystals are teaching you about yourself. So there is a very strong cultural programming to disempower yourself through your crystal use. And that's one thing I'll tell you right now, you have to nip that in the bud immediately. You are the one true power here, not Moldavite. That needs to be your prerequisite. And when you realize that, you will receive more from your work with crystals because now you have the relationship in the proper context. You come first in your quest to self realize, to understand yourself, to clear, to heal any of those variables. And then you can relate to the crystals in the way that will bring the most effect from them. So that type of respect is needed so much because when you really, really get into the power of these things, and I know there's a few of you out there who do know this, that when you give that honor and respect, you are your returns are tenfold because you know how perfected that state of Moldavite energy consciousness already is. It's perfected. It's in a state, a higher dimensional state. But the beauty of our focus is that we feel the crystal, the stone, the tektite in this dimension. We feel its weight, but it's your mind that has the ability to go into the stone and to continue going deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's where you open up the multi-dimensional energy. When you have the ability to focus for longer periods of time without interruption, that's when you begin to make contact with this energy. So the Lemurians speak to think lightly. When you make an intention to connect with a stone, it's one single thought. It doesn't have to have energy behind it. It has to have focus behind it. Because if you're putting energy behind it, you're probably having expectations. So remove your expectations. For those of you who are new to connecting with crystals, remove your expectations. I've connected with, Moldavite countless times, but you know what I do in the state, in the practice that I have? I never once think that I know anything when I connect with Moldavite or any other crystal or any other higher consciousness for that matter, because it's not about knowing. And that's a little bit of a paradox and a riddle. So release your desire to know, and you will be gifted with everything you would ever want to know or experience. So moving forward. Okay, so that is one of the magics of Moldavite. So it's refining that relationship to consciousness. So as I said, first density consciousness is the elements, crystals and tektites and all of the earth and the elements, they're all related. And then second density consciousness, plants and animals, fungi. Second density consciousness, they have a little bit more room to grow, to experience their form of consciousness. But the key is that they're still in a harmonic order. You will never see a cat that has to learn how to be a cat or a tree that has to learn how to grow. Their consciousness is perfected. It seems obvious, but when you think about it, it begins to make sense into how it relates to you. Because they're perfected, nature is perfected within that realm of consciousness. So when you learn and watch nature, when you learn and watch animals, you get these beautiful lessons that are perfect, that relate to your life and yourself. So then you get to human consciousness, 3D consciousness. And that's us. And we are in a disharmonic state. We don't know who we are. We don't know what we're doing. We have to learn. Everybody is born a fool. And it's up to us to understand. I say that's the first card of the tarot deck, the Fool card, fresh beginnings. That's exactly what we all have when we come into this dimension. Generally speaking, we have a fresh beginning. Everyone plays the game the same. Nobody knows. And that's part of the dimension, is that one of the laws of the dimension is the law of free will. And that is synonymous with the law of confusion. Nobody knows. It's not meant to be known. And that's what you call the veil. The veil is what keeps you from knowing what you are, what you're capable of, what your higher power is, your soul. So Moldavite is just such a powerful catalyst that helps us reconnect to that knowing. It helps remove and purge and bring up all of those blockages to your life. But when you relate to the crystal in the appropriate way, you will get more out of it. So spiritual activation, that's one of the main concepts of Moldavite. And the fact that so many people right now want to experience Moldavite, they're feeling Moldavite, is for humanity, it's an incredible, beautiful thing that is being achieved. Because our consciousness is held down in a variety of ways, culturally speaking. I don't want to get into it too far, but you just look at how the systems we're born into. They're not meant and not groomed for consciousness expansion. We're groomed to harness critical thinking, problem solving, engineering, business minds. It's not easily meant for consciousness expansion. But this is the ascension times. This is the mass awakening of what's occurring. And you have millions of people out there that want Moldavite. And when all of them are connecting with the energy at once, you begin to feel this unified connection. Everyone is beginning that path of self-realization. Some of us are just a little bit more down the road, but they have the ability to teach and share it and make it more efficient. So we know that this dimension is about choice, how you wish to choose your consciousness to ascend, the ultimate choice that builds your power and your polarity, and that will ultimately come into effect at some point in time, is, are you in service of yourself or are you in service of others? That will be the defining choice of the dimension. Now, I don't want to go too deep into that, but that's just getting down the path of meditation, the journey of higher consciousness, because that's where we're all taking this. All right, so moving forward. So Moldavite is helping us open up that heart chakra, open up that third eye. So why is that important? Okay, so this is why it's important and what it means, because we're all on the inner path to harmony. Some of us might just not know it just yet, but we're all on the path, especially if you start feeling these visceral, powerful feelings when working with the stone. The stone won't tell you, though, to keep going down the path, because some of these experiences are going to be challenging, they're going to be hard, they're going to be confusing. But all of this isn't meant to be easy. They say that all those that come to earth are the bravest in the universe, or the most foolish, because you don't remember. It is so difficult to get out, so easy at the same time. So the inner path to harmony. Moldavite is helping us open the heart and the mind, because the goal is love, compassion, empathy. It's helping us remove the blockages of the lower energy centers, the fears, the embarrassments, the shames, the insecurities. It's bringing all of those energies to the surface, because those are what's blocking you from your energy flowing into a loving state. Your higher consciousness is founded on your security. How secure are you? How comfortable are you being alive? That's your foundation. If that question sparked up some form of, I don't feel comfortable, I don't feel relaxed, then you're in a lowered state, generally speaking. So Moldavite is helping us remove and keep us on that inner path to harmony, because the goal is to clear, become secure, retain all your happiness and your joy, and achieve mental clarity. So the last hurdle that stops a lot of us from actually experiencing Moldavite is mental clarity. That's the gatekeeper to higher consciousness. Clarity is the gatekeeper to higher consciousness because clarity is of your mental body, your solar plexus energy. And we just need a gap between those thoughts, and that is the space in which we access higher consciousness. And Moldavite is what helps make that gap, that door, a little bit easier to open. Now, we're beginning to transcend. So once you begin absolving those energies, working with Moldavite and the healing's coming up, you've been doing the inner healing work, acknowledging the traumas, the wounds, and the blockages that are coming to the surface. Your higher power wants you to acknowledge them. It wants you to take responsibility. Because I've been reading in the forums that people are having some difficult times here and there. Your higher power, your higher consciousness just wants you to acknowledge and take responsibility for those experiences. And then you can become more comfortable and non reactive to those experiences. So the loving state is a non reactionary state. The same way. So, yeah, the loving state, the compassionate state, the unconditional love, it's a non reactionary form of consciousness. We're striving to be non reactionary, giving our love and energy out unconditionally as a vibration, not as a service, as a vibration. It comes out and it doesn't react. So when you have an experience and you immediately think, oh my gosh, I don't like that person, and you judge, and all your energy fuels, and that bad energy fuels and jumps onto your thought, and it lowers you. That's the fall of consciousness that repeats itself over and over and over until you learn to non-react. And that's why Moldavite is so powerful and so important, because it helps us understand and bring those things to the surface, because we're transcending the thinking mind into the feeling body. That's the big transcendence that's occurring. Moldavite in the feeling body. So, okay, so when I was meditating, this is a key to working with Moldavite, because we all want to become masters of working with crystals, with tektites, with stones, with our consciousness. One of the biggest emotional keys for Moldavite is surrendering. Now, surrendering is not a submissive act. And it's mistaken if you think it's a submissive act. Surrendering is a conscious choice to experience something in its fullest. So when this this information streamed right from the Godhead of Moldavite. Surrender to these energies. Allow them to work through you without interfering. Allow that uncomfortability to yield resolve. Surrender. So surrender is also, coincidentally or not, surrendering is also another important emotion for the heart. To surrender to your feelings and not have your mind come in and start reorganizing, taking control. We're transcending control for trust. Control is an emotional imbalance, a sacral imbalance, the constant need to control your desires or others' desires. It's an emotional imbalance. We're trying to transcend control into trust. And we do that through surrendering. And through surrendering, you are gifted with so much power and presence as you refine and work with that practice. So you allow all that intensity and chaos to pass through you when you're working with Moldavite. There could be an explosion of energy that comes out of us. So just as a second reminder, don't disempower yourself. Remember that you are more powerful than any of the crystals in the whole world. You're more powerful than that. And I mean that 100% literally. The crystals are teaching you about yourself. So when you work with the stones, you got to look at them as if a teacher was working with you, because they're all helping you lead to self-realization. So we have the laws and the dimensional understandings that will allow us to make more use of working with Moldavite. The laws of love. This is the dimension of love. This is the dimension of choice. Choosing, not knowing. You don't have to know anything about Moldavite to be a master of it. That's the beauty of this. Because there's a lot of people, you know, I received a little bit of flack from people here and there because they like to flaunt their knowing. I know more about Moldavite, where it comes from, how it's mined, where you can get it from. But it's not about knowing, folks. It's not about knowing. You don't have to know anything about Moldavite if you know how to connect with consciousness, because that's what it is. So these little shifts, little connections that we're talking about, they mean the literal world to your growth. You're relating to consciousness. Treat it as a teacher working with you. Learn to listen, learn to surrender. And everything else comes a little easier into harmony. So some rules when you're working with Moldavite. Some people wear Moldavite every single day for years and years and years. And I mean, the thing is, what I like in my experience, I know everyone's different. With my experience is that Moldavite's not going to allow you to access all that power all of the time, because I'm telling you, it's, you know, actually, as I'm expressing this to the group, I know this for a pretty, I don't want to say fact, but a strong certain, that you're not having all that power all the time. If you think it's all it's because it wouldn't be for your highest good. Because when you really take in all that energy, it shakes you up like a soda can, like a pressurized soda can, and that's not good for just walking around doing human things. So take it off once in a while. If you don't feel well, the first thing I do, if I don't feel well, I check and see if I have any crystals on me. If I do, I take them off. It might seem counterintuitive to a lot of what people say about crystal healing, but when you start having a lot of activated energy move through you, these crystals and stones and tektites, they are amplifiers. So that's the first thing you should see is, are the stones that I'm working with right now, are they amplifying what I'm feeling? So take them off and see. Because as I mentioned before, if you constantly have crystal energy all over you, do you even know your energy? How are you supposed to learn your energy if you have that amplified crystalline resonance on your body 24/7? Take them off. Use them per application or not. Only recommendations. Everyone can do whatever they want. But I'm telling you, if you continue down the path, you may want to do these practices. Especially Moldavite. Moldavite, you know, that's one where I wore it all the time. And then I had my Kundalini activate over the years, and I didn't want anything to do with crystals for a duration of time. I wanted nothing to do with crystals. I had my bedroom was filled full of crystals, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want all these out of here. Because when you achieve some of these deeper states of consciousness, all you want is grounding. All you want is earth and dirt, and to be connected to the earth mother, the ultimate crystal, the ultimate form of security. Because all these high frequency crystals that we work with, they pull and rise your awareness. They peel your awareness. They peel it off of your body. And over time, more and more of your awareness is kind of being pulled off of your body. So if you start having strange disassociative type feelings and experiences too often, then you need to put the strong crystals down and do something physical. Make it into a practice and balance your practice. because some of you, I'm sure some of you, once you work with Moldavite, it can actually activate your Kundalini. And some of you may want to actually activate your Kundalini by bringing that resonance to the base of your spine. But use caution. And as just a very brief disclaimer, do not force your Kundalini to become activated because you think you want it. And then once it gets activated, it's too powerful and you can't turn back. And all of a sudden, you are in a temporary world of hurt because you can't come down. Some of these doors that you open with these high, powerful crystals, you can't close them. But this is not to scare you, this is to give you discernment because everything ultimately is going to be for your highest good. It's just, do you want to learn the hard way or do you want to take your time and use care and balance? So there will be times, put the crystals down and don't disempower yourself. All right, so those are some of the rules for working with the tektites. And then now the fun part, Moldavite pairings. This is what everyone talks about all over the internet. What do I pair my Moldavite with? What can I mix and mingle with Moldavite? All right, so a very fun stone that everyone has been talking about is Herkimer Diamond. Everyone's heard of Herkimer Diamond. If you haven't, these little guys right here, hope you can see that. That's Herkimer Diamond. Herkimer Diamonds are just amplifiers. They're really cool. I really like them. So Moldavite and Herkimer is just going to give a little boost to your stone. And that comes from Herkimer County, New York. Another one that everyone has been talking about is another tektite. Does anybody know what this is? Anyone know what that is? That's my star Libyan gold tektite, or Libyan desert glass. That's another stone that people like to pair Moldavite with. Even though Libyan gold tektite is a tektite, it doesn't feel anything like Moldavite. It is completely different in almost every way. It's very subtle. It's very smooth. It's very protective. For me, it's been temperamental in the way that I have to be gentle with it. It's not a forceful stone. But those are becoming a little bit more difficult to find and to work with. Another one, here's another Libyan. So these are some pretty big ones I got years ago. Another stone, this is just a little tiny piece, which I'll just say is Aquamarine, is a really good stone to work with Moldavite as well. It kind of balances Moldavite, it takes away a little bit of that chaotic tornado feeling. And Danburite is another beautiful stone to work with Moldavite. So I'm grouping all the high frequency crystals together. And lastly, so this is a secret, part of me was like, do I dare share this last crystal with the group because everyone's going to want it? Once you work with Moldavite and you hear about this next stone I'm going to talk about, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's what I want. So this next one is called phenakite. Anyone ever heard of phenakite? Probably not. Maybe so. Phenakite is probably the highest vibrational crystal that you can possibly work with. It's like this pure white light, where Moldavite is like a wave crashing, it just gets everything stirred up. Phenakite is probably the highest vibrational crystal, at least one of them, strongest one I've ever used. And that is a true beauty. Even more, it's more expensive, it's more rare, but you only need a small piece of it, very small piece. I actually have a pendant right here, Moldavite phenakite, and imperial topaz. Yes, that word Ruckshod. See, that's what I'm about now. Is that I think it's Eddie from Thailand. Um, that's what I like wearing now. Is I like to wear my beads. I like the earth. I like to work with the earth energies, and when I use the crystalline energies, it's for very specific reasons. Yeah, don't don't pair Moldavite with stibnite. Stibnite, that's from I imagine you probably read that in the Book of Stones. They say if you work with Moldavite and stibnite, you better have pure thoughts, because if you say something bad while working with stibnite, please correct me if that pronunciation is wrong, and Moldavite at the same time, you can manifest something. Yeah, it's a weird one. Plus, also be careful because that crystal, stibnite or mineral, is very poisonous to humans. So you don't want to ingest that. So be careful with that combo. Is that stone is toxic to humans. All right. So so some of my top pairings: Danburite, Libyan Gold Tektite, Herkimer Diamond. This one actually too is another. It's not even a stone. It's actually called fulgurite, and it's basically lightning that hits sand. It has a very similar sensation and sparkly feeling that Moldavite has. It's very similar. So if you want to work with some Kundalini energy, get yourself Moldavite, fulgurite, phenakite, serpentine together, and yeah, cinnabar. Yeah, cinnabar is also toxic. Okay, so those are some pairings, but the beauty of Moldavite is that it naturally pairs with just about everything. You really can't go wrong with it, but I do suggest finding a proper grounding stone. So if you work with these high frequency stones, you need to have an equally balanced grounding set of something that pulls you back into your body, because the name of the game after ascending, like you're activating yourself with Moldavite, you're activating, allowing the dust to settle, you come more into an awakened state, and then now it's time to ground. It's time to bring that high vibration, that high frequency to your actual physical body, and you learn to ground that and ground your vibration into your body. When most of us, when we get ungrounded, we're pulling away from our body. We're not feeling comfortable in our body. We're bringing the beauty elsewhere and coming back to the body, and it's a different experience. So the goal is to ground these strong vibrations into yourself. Okay, so that's the goal in the end, is to ground. It's all about grounding, especially when you awaken the Kundalini, you achieve some transcendental states, and all you want to do is ground. Yeah, shungite is a good grounding one as well. Wood, yeah, um, sunshine wood. I like to use petrified wood as my ground. I like the lighter feelings of grounding. Petrified wood and jet. Jet is a form of obsidian. That's another good one for Kundalini as well. So I like jet in petrified wood, but you can't go wrong with black tourmaline or ruby or citrine. Citrine is another good pairing with Moldavite, the real citrine. And someone did comment, so I'll make a little announcement. Try to buy sustainably um, harvested or mined crystals. Try to know where your crystals come from. There's a lot of not proper practices out there, so try to know where your minerals are coming from. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of. Now we're going to learn about the meditation techniques. Remember to clear your Moldavite, charge your Moldavite. I don't want to go, those are pretty simple things you can do. You can charge it in the sun. You can put it in the moonlight. You can put it in a potted plant, which actually does clearing and charging. It's like bringing them back home. You can, my favorite, use your own focus and energy. Every form of consciousness has its way back to the creator. And your focus on the crystal, you can actually find the access point to infinite energy inside of everything. We have it as our kundalini. So you can connect to the crystal and access its infinite access point to energy and charge your crystal with your intention. All it takes is your focus and the desire to do that exact thing, and your focus to hold on that intention. It takes a little practice, but you're getting into working energy work, doing types of magic. Okay. A couple Moldavite connection techniques. These are very basic, and you'll be able to expand on them in the future. So remember, your relationship is the prerequisite to how the energy receives to you, to how it comes to you. You're developing embodiments of sincerity, asking for assistance with a goal you have in meditation. And that's why you need the stone. That's why you're working with this powerful spiritual catalyst to help you do something. It's so powerful, at least give it an opportunity to do so, to show you. And then that's your intention. Never think that you know what's happening. Let me rephrase that. You don't have to know how it's happening for it to have a full and beautiful experience. You don't have to know. It's not about knowing. Knowing, trying to know as it's happening, trying to know is actually a blockage that comes in and stops a channel from unfolding. So try to just observe without trying to know. And that gives you a little bit more of an observational passive experience, at least for that part of your mind we're trying to quiet. And then recognize the service. We want to not become self-serving in the connection, not just pull the energy for your own power. You want to focus more on a sincere connection, as if you're working with a teacher, not an acquisition of power. That's actually a line that separates our consciousness. It gives duality to the ways in which our mind can evolve. There's only two ways the mind evolves: through service of others and service of self. One is through the dark power, self-serving, interests, and the other is through a unified connection. So this is a very important point: is that relationship with yourself and the consciousness you are working with. That's a huge prerequisite, because it's just a little thing in your mind that changes from teacher to acquisition of power. It's a tiny little line that all of a sudden the flow of energy goes another way. So be cognizant of that. That's like a Easter egg right there. Okay, so here's a brief connection. So if you want to hold your Moldavite or hold a crystal that you have, this is just very brief, very easy. It's not complicated. This will not take long to learn. What I've learned in my practice is that, you get yourself comfortable, relaxed, in a state of being receptive. And then you have your crystals in your hand. You have your tektites in your hand. You're relaxing, closing your hands. You don't need to squeeze the stones. Relax. Allow the Moldavites to unfold in your hand, to go beyond your hand, as if it's like a glowing orb. So the first thing we want to do is open these crystals up. We want them to be attuned to ourselves. We want them to have energy. So you go to your heart. You place your focus on your heart until you begin to find your own access point to power and love. You find that energy. And if you can't find it, just intend it. Eventually, it'll happen. Find that energy. Intend for energy to go. So you find that energy in your heart. And then as you breathe, you take a big breath in. As you exhale, send that love and that energy from your heart space down your arms and into each hand into the crystals. And you allow an open channel from your heart to the crystals to take place. So now these stones, these tektites, have energy. They have gas. The little engines are turning on. And now you may begin to feel the tingliness in your hand. You may feel it begin to expand, go to other parts of your body, because everyone's soul and energy body has very specific needs on how to catalyze this energy, or to use this energy as a catalyst. Okay, so now from here, you could either have your experience, meditate with Moldavite and allow the energy to unfold. It's like you just lit a fuse. Relax, and you can actually draw this energy back into your body, back into your heart. So you reverse the process. Take a big inhale, and as you inhale, you draw in that energy back into your heart space. An open channel going from your hands, from the crystals into your heart. You have that Moldavite vibration in your body now, in your heart. So remember to just observe what you feel. Just observe. Now, this is like, as I stated earlier, it's like you're lighting a fuse. When this energy hits you, for many of us, it's like lighting a fuse, and it's just going to go where it's going to go. It's a divine flame, and it has everything it needs to burn, so you don't have to do anything or intend to have this connection be for your highest good. And that's always how you want to start. Even when I do my big group healings, I work with a very powerful crystal quartz point, which I will actually show you right now. I will show you this really massive quartz point that when I work with that stone, I just have to, when I begin to work with that stone, I have to like use my heart's energy to turn it on, almost like it's my heart's energy is like keys. And that connection has to be had first, because I build these massive grids. And that's a whole nother process, is learning how to work with grids. That's a whole nother type of magic. Okay, so that's a basic connection. Catalyze with your heart, have a proper relationship, sincerity, surrender to your experience. Now, the next thing is, a lot of us have thoughts that are going to arise, and we want to purge these thoughts. And when we have thoughts, we usually come at them. We say, what is this thought? And our awareness goes right to that thought and it says, why did I just think that? But you're not trying to have thoughts. You're trying to have clarity. So what you can do is this: if you're trying to have a clear mind and your thoughts are coming in and you can't get them out, you can't find that clarity, do that Moldavite connection that we just did, and accept you're going to draw that Moldavite energy into your mind to where those thoughts are taking place. And you allow the Moldavite to go behind the thought. So allow you to think of that concept for a second. Have a thought in your mind, and you're going to put that Moldavite energy behind the thought as if it's a material object. And what's going to happen is you're going to go to that thought and you're going to go through it, and you're going to try to find the ending of it. And in the ending of that thought is clarity. And you put that Moldavite resonance behind that thought, and it will help you purge, like a plunger. It'll help you pull those blockages out of your energetic body. Like literally, when I was preparing for this talk, I had an experience like that, and it was like magic. I was like, oh my gosh, I clear out my third eye a little more often. So another thing that happens, at least that when I was doing this meditation, is that once you have the energy inside of you, your mind kind of subconsciously separates from the Moldavite feeling. So you have the Moldavite feeling in you, like say you feel it, you feel the tingly, the waves. But there's another part of your mind that's clear, that's not necessarily experiencing that. And that's when the Moldavite told me is like, allow that awareness to be Moldavite. Allow that perspective, allow the Moldavite to be in all of your perspective. And when I did that, made that connection, the energy went deeper into the core of my field. Now, another technique is to just bring through doing that first initial connection first in drawing all this energy to your third eye, to your forehead, in the middle of your brain, and just holding the Moldavite's vibration and focus there. And that will help you open your third eye. And another, for those of you who are more practiced at connecting with crystals and tektites, is you realize that all energy is everywhere all the time. So if you connect with Moldavite in your hand and you feel that beautiful vibration glowing, you can actually superimpose that feeling, like taking a screenshot and putting that screenshot of a feeling anywhere on your body. Try that one, it's magic. And you realize that, yeah, I mean, you'll make a lot of connections about your awareness as that opens up. So those are a few Moldavite connections and techniques that we can work with. Now, last, I wanted to talk about okay, so just checking the comments real quick, seeing how everyone is doing. All right, going back a little bit. How are everyone doing? Good. Yes, a class on grids as well, definitely. Yeah, gratitude is a balance. Gratitude is really important. Yeah, if you can't hear me talking, just go to your mic at the bottom left of your screen. Okay, so those are the connection techniques that you can work with that will drastically help increase your speed and the way you can use this powerful spiritual activator. Yes, I will send this recording to everyone. Now, I want to say if anyone needs Moldavite or any of these crystals that we are talking about, I have a trusted source that I work with, that I get crystals with. He actually helped me get one of my star crystals a couple of years back. And I will forward you his information. I'll actually type it here. His name is Rock Guy 77. Make sure Rock Guy 77. Yeah, Rock Guy 77. Facebook profile. Message him. He can help you with trusted Moldavite, fair pricing. And yeah, some of you are, yeah, the price of Moldavite, it should not be astronomical unless it's like a museum quality. But between, $10, $15 a gram, that's like what it is now. So that's what we want. So last, I wanted to share with everyone is that, what we're all talking about here is we're all activating, we're receiving spiritual catalyst. Spiritual catalyst is what we're all after. And one of the biggest catalysts, as I mentioned in the beginning, if you have a piece of Moldavite, that can serve as a spiritual catalyst. But there will be a point in time where you need to receive that from somewhere else, from another source. And that is where this offering can be of a huge benefit for you. I do a group healing session with like 50, 60 people 2 times a month, in which I channel, build grids with crystals, and I channel higher consciousness to the group. And this is a really, really powerful way to experience a spiritual catalyst. So if you want to join this group, for anyone who's listening right now, I'm going to have a deal. For anyone who's listening right now, I will give you a free pass to my next group healing, but only if you're listening. If you're listening, the discount code is going to be violet, like violet flame. So if you're listening right now, violet is going to be the code for the next group healing. I have a group healing on March 21st, a 3/3 powerful day. As I said, I've been doing these group healings for a very long time, and it's an incredible way to come together as a group and receive healing as a group, to heal with a group. And I have sound baths that I accompany with the group healing. So I'll send you a sound bath that I record with my gongs and crystal bowls and other types of instruments. So this is a really, really powerful way. I try to find ways to give back to the community. I try to find ways to help out. So if you want to try this out, this is a way that you can help me as well, is to come join the group healing. Now, lastly, if you like the topics that I'm talking about, and if you want to increase your understanding of the dimensions of your mind and how your mind evolves and how it relates to everything, I teach a lecture series that I'm starting April 6th, coming up. April 6th, I'm beginning a 16-week lecture series. One lecture every week for 16 weeks. And it's going to start at the very beginning and it's going to expand. You're going to learn about crystals. You're going to learn about the emotional keys for ascension. You're going to learn about lucid dreaming. You're going to learn how to heal the shadow. You're going to learn about higher consciousness. You're going to learn about the dark side, the self-serving dark side. You're going to learn about psychic attacks. And I teach on how to group connect. I teach about channeling, chanting, meditation techniques. These are all weeks of the course. So if you really want to expand and take your understanding to the next level, my lecture series starts April 6th. I'm going to put this in an email and send this to everyone. And as I said, it starts and there is a special right now. So uh, the price will go up in a little bit, but for right now, it's at the lowest it's going to be. It's a lot of time, friends. I'm telling you, you're going to save an enormous amount of time learning all these concepts, learning all these constructs, and thousands of hours of meditation, healing work, research, teaching, public speaking. And I bundle it all up in a really easy to understand way. It's an investment. Invest in yourselves. This is the most important information that you're going to have in this lifetime, is learning how to uncover and find your true nature, to find that love and understand what it means to be alive. This is what the lecture series is all about. I speak from the heart. I don't sugarcoat, and I love talking about evolution. So if you're interested, I'm going to put in the email all this information. And just remember, I'm going to send this email out, and there's a lot of emails. So it's probably going to get sent to your spam folder or your promotional folder. So just a warning, I'm going to send this out right after we end this. It'll be out probably within the hour. And check that out. And I do have scholarships as well. So if you're interested, let me know and we can work it out. It's a beautiful way. It's what I do for a living. All this is I try to give back to the community in the best ways I can, because I feel supported. That's why I do these things, is because the community supports me, and I give free healings back. I give community group sessions. I do my best to, to make it and to help people out and to provide for myself as well. So thank you all, everyone that's watching. Beautiful souls here talking on, one of my favorite crystals ever. So I think that was about it. The next group healing is going to be the violet flame. So we're all talking about the chaos and the purging that comes out with Moldavite, all that crazy energy. Well, the violet flame is another tool that we have to work with that helps transmute and that helps integrate. So it's the I am presence, the violet flame. It's going to be a powerful energy. And that's coming up here on March 21st. As I said, if you're listening, I'll give you a free pass to the next group healing. Otherwise, I'll send you a half off code in the email. The free pass is violet. So remember that if you want to try something really powerful, when we come together as a group, it's one of the most powerful things that you can do. And when you see and experience these gifts that I have that I've been fostering for years, it's what I was born to do, to transfer energy, to help awaken consciousness on a mass scale. So everyone is doing a beautiful job. If you working with the stones and the crystals, keep it up, keep loving. Don't let anyone keep you down. So free pass is going to be violet. Otherwise, I'll have a 50% off code if you can't remember. So yeah, my lecture series coming up April 6th. Please feel free to message me. Send me if you're interested. Make that investment. And I can continue to do these free classes and help out. So it helps everyone, helps the world go around. So I really appreciate everyone. I hope you all have a beautiful evening. And find me on Facebook. Feel free to friend me or follow me. And I had a blast. So thanks again. I'll send this recording out very soon. And go ahead and check your mail within the hour. So thanks again.